Welcome, everybody, back to the WMR podcast show, the Wild Man Revolution show. We are back with part two with Mr. Rhyn Nasser. And before I get chatting to you, Rhyn, I had an idea as we were getting to the end of the first recording of this. I hope the viewers and listeners have tuned into that one. If you haven't already, hit stop, go back and listen to that one first, because this will make more sense what I'm about to share. But I was listening and we had a chat after I got off the air, and I was like, be really good to chat about. We have again, we have our genius, our gifts, we've created business and structure out of it where we get to help people and invite people in. And big aspect to that is we've got to get this out to the world. And I was having a thought of it, and I'm like, I think this will be a bit of an edge for Rhyn and even myself to chat about, because we've had a journey around marketing our brand, ourselves, our business, and our offerings to the world. And I thought this would be a really valuable conversation for the listeners and viewers to tune into, because I see so many people limited in this. They're so many people out there who have these gifts, these great offerings, or they got their mission and their purpose that they're clear on, but they really struggle to get over the roadblocks or whatever they've put in front of them around the marketing or the messaging out to the marketplace. So again, without further ado, welcome back, Mr. Rhyn Nasser. And I already know this is a bit of an edge, so inviting you to the edge. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. Yeah, looking forward to diving in. And yeah, mate, thanks for being a good masculine presence, and holding the space for stepping into the edge. And I think that's where we sharpen the sword of the soul, I sometimes refer it to, where the part of our identity meets the integration of our soul, and so the soul will have that part of our personality that needs to die because it's trying to perform, and also the part of our identity that's linked to personality has to learn to be sharp and clear. And I feel like that's the part where business kind of hits the road, is where soul meets systems and soul meets strategy. And I feel like if you're just doing marketing without soul, then it's just straight up manipulation.
True.
Yeah. And
there's a lot of good people out there that do that. Not good people. There's a lot of people do that well out there.
Oh yeah. And that's actually part of the frustration for me too, with had been, not so much anymore, because I feel like I'm balancing and getting on top of it. And it's funny because frustration sits in the liver. It's and the liver is also the Hun soul, which is like the angel or the divine soul, whichever you like to call it, like that. And so the frustration is just a calling into more of the alignment of the soul, and the quality of the liver is thinking and planning. So it's like vision. So it's like, how do you turn your frustrations into more soul alignment and into that vision? And I think that's that soul sword. But yeah, soul without structure is chaos.
Just book note that, take notes on that one, people. Very, very important. It is. And I like the structure, what we talk about, we create these, again, we create businesses, the ultimate structure, you could say. And it's like having that business structure, it's that container to welcome people in, so then we can bring our natural genius or our creativity. And it's that, I look at that bridge, or that in between, that intermediary of how we actually get the message out there. And it's changed so much over the last, I've been doing this for a decade. It's changed so much. I don't even know what it would have been like for me to do this before the world of social media and that, because that's always been my world, even though I feel like I've come full circle now as more face to face and more on the ground and more back to old school and that. But that evolution over the years, I know, has been it's a constant edge for me. It's like, how can I continue to get what I have as an offer out to the world in a congruent, authentic kind of way, whilst dealing with the frustration of looking outside my lane, of looking at the other people that are doing all these things. And I know deep down that what I offer is way more grounded, or whatever I want to say. And I'm like, how come they're getting all these people come in and all that sort of stuff? And that's been my journey anyway, is working through that frustration. And again, I love how you tied it into the liver and the body. And I don't know if the word clarity come through there, or the vision or anything like that. It's also associated with the liver. But
Thinking and planning. Yeah.
You're thinking and planning. And
Yeah.
it's like, I remember one of my biggest blocks for a long time was like getting the ideas, but then putting it into action. Because I'm like, well, I don't have the full clarity because I was always frustrated because of this whole thing. And that's been a huge evolution for me and how I navigate it. The key for me is being creativity, keeping creativity mode in that essence, and everything we talked about early in the first podcast is like, that's been a real key for me to really, when I'm in creative mode, there's no frustration. There's no looking outside of myself. It's like it's internal. And that's been a big key for me in this journey in marketing and creating content that's congruent. And I think again, I didn't know this was going to tie into the examples we spoke about in the first podcast, but it's like that when you talked about you can be polarizing by being your authentic self. And I think that's amplified through how we show up in marketing and business. Oh, this is good. I'm glad I like trusted come through. Well, I'm just spitballing here, by the way, what's feeling really relevant in the conversation, and there's no real framework where I want this to go. But hearing what I'm talking about here coming through, relative to what you've been doing yourself and Crystal, growing your businesses out and getting that and the marketing aspect, what would you like to talk to from your journey and experience around it?
Yeah. First of all, I just want to say like a big part of my success is my partner Crystal, and it's not because she's just doing it, but I feel like we've chosen love from the soul. And so that way, if we get into drama, it re-alchemizes back into a soul presence, rather than, well, we're going to choose a relationship based on body, mind, drama, and personality. And then there's not really any, you know what I mean? Well, hopefully you get up to soul, but if soul's a standard, then yeah. And so I just want to sort of mention that. And because it just like, I just find like, to do this work, personality can grow by itself. You know, you go to your personality development workshops, you listen to your podcast, or whatever the thing is, right? You do that, but soul needs group, needs soul aligned people, and that stability, I feel like, is the difference in terms of stabilizing your message, and because like you have to stabilize that first in order to come into that congruence part of it. I mean, if we're talking about doing it from the soul. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that part straight off the bat.
Yeah, there's a whole other podcast in that one. Yeah, awesome, awesome. And here's the thing, it's like, I know we chatted, we will use the example of years ago, like we were having a conversation where you were like, oh, I want to get myself out there or the marketing or do this different. Like you're having a conversation with myself and Chi. And again, even since then, the space has evolved so much. But the one thing that always rings true is still the, even more so now, I think with the AI and information overload and lists, the you've got to be your true authentic self to stand out. I think that's the most important thing, more so now than ever. The realer you are, and it can be easy to go, here's this new flashy thing come, all right, I can reach more people with this, or this can help me get through this, but without coming from that true self, you're going to miss the mark, or you're not going to speak soul to soul energetically. Is that what you find when you're putting yourself out there, so to say, in your marketing?
Yeah, for me, I think the biggest frame around that is basically right now I'm not building a business. I literally don't even think of it like that.
Yep.
I'm tending to a frequency, and I'm nurturing that aspect. It's that again lines with the alchemical framework of stabilizing the Jing Qi. You learn to nourish the essence, wrap it in love, if you will. I'm wrapping the frequency in love, and that's basically what I'm doing. So then that takes me out of the the personality, which is built for trade and exchange, built for like, well, if I do this, what am I going to get in return? If I do that strategy, then I'm going to get this. And it's chaos, or straight, like I said, it's straight up manipulation if it isn't backed on soul. And that's okay. But if you're present to soul, then it's like, for me, the frame is I'm not building business anymore. I'm tending to a frequency. And my business just happens to grow from that.
Yeah.
So I build from my frames is like I build from stillness, not from urgency. If it's urgent, it's a relaxed urgency that I'm dropped in. I'm trying to move, in integration and flow. I also have permission sometimes to be messy, because at the beginning of stabilizing a new system from soul, there's going to be a vulnerability of it's going to come out messy, and you know, and also like I also know what my ray frequencies are as a soul too. So like I think this is also what helps me, and we'll get into the later on about the power practices for like soul creators, because that presence is a big part of what enables us to bring our authenticity out. So the personality from the Taoist framework, I look at it as it's just our physical body and our energy. And I'm a Ray 7, so it's Ray 7 is ceremonial embodiment magic. So I'm all about ritual and order. You have that part too, right? You'll do your practices,
Yeah.
and stabilize it. So for me, it's like I try to create from chaos. I try to create order through my embodiment, and that's my presence. That's my kind of like formula. But then my soul ray frequency is Ray 4, which is about conflict to harmony, which is all about yin yang balance and stuff like that. So for me, that's the frame that I'm here to bring into the world, is like, well, how do we stabilize the soul presence in the world? And that's a big part of what I'm, you know, called to do. And then the other one is my monad is about planetary purpose. It's Ray 1, so it's like a strong anchoring will of awakening. So it's because I know myself, it's or my soul or my spirit from that, and it's not like I'm just those things, there's other aspects to it, but that enables me to define my frequency. And we are creating and what would you say, like a personality. I've already built it out actually for personality, soul, and frequency, so people can actually take that test and actually then start to tend to their frequency more based on a soul level, so they can refine, so that it's not like, wow, it doesn't have to be so messy. It might still be messy, but it can be like, at least it's coming through from my authenticity and my sincerity. And I really feel like that's a big key for getting out of the ego or out of the judgment. Like, does this feel, am I being sincere? Is there a level of humility in this, that I can take the lower position and nurture this frequency, as well as a humility to dare to do what I've never done before, which is kind of like opposite to what most people think is humility, just so I don't get caught in any self-defeating patterns that may keep me small because I'm trying to fit into the group. And then I distort that frequency, which enables me to stand in that edge, which is that polarization, but not because I'm trying to polarize to get likes, because I'm just fucking daring to be who I am as a soul. And that is coming out. So yeah, and I just really look more so like I get up in the morning and I just have a system that is, I anchor the frequency, I center myself in the lower dantian, which is Wuji, the emptiness, and I've got a series of practices that I do that anchors me in that. And then I have systems that I'm in the process of creating right now and deepening, so I can have peaceful systems from soul that enable me to drop in and find this balance between, I have strategy, but I'm listening to the presence of my spirit and soul, and I'm anchored in that, and I'm getting to create, because you want that creative artistic spark, but you also need to have systems in order to not just be, you know, there's a saying like, not to be the king that's a slave to the kingdom, you know? So you want to have a ability to have peace, so you can maintain that. Well, I mean, this comes down to me, that part of me that is happy to sit in a, you know, done 4 weeks in a dark room, you know, I was, you know, it's happy to check out of life and just be present with myself and not have the business owning me. But it's that balance between, you have to show up. So, and I think this is also a powerful principle too, mate. And I'd love to hear what you say as well. In Tai Chi, we call it not being double weighted. So double weighted means that we're not yin or we're not yang, we're kind of sitting in the middle. And so therefore we're stagnant. And it's not middle as in the golden meme or walking, putting the needle through the eye. It's actually, I'm stagnant. So when we practice true Tai Chi, move slowly between yin and yang. So that way the law of the universe can go all the way over to yin, and one side becomes grounded and but empty, and the other side is light and empty. but then there's a transition between both. So then the energy between physical body, it moves between both poles, and you balance yourself out. So like what this means in business is I need systems, structure to show up in a way that has order and has discipline, that I know that that part that's uncomfortable, that's building that identity, I know that that's a signal that it's strengthening my identity, not a signal that I'm like out of my integrity. And then I can shift out of that, drop into my embodiment practices, and forget about the business, forget about the identity, dissolve the self, and go deeply into that, and then come out and be rebirth. And it's so there's a period where you're learning Tai Chi, where you're double weighted, you're fucking uncoordinated, you're trying to get it
Yeah.
all together until
Yeah.
eventually, and this is probably the journey we've been on, Steve, is we're learning to not be double weighted anymore. So literally in the classical Chinese medical system, in these traditional arts, double weighted equals illness. It equals sickness. It's not just stagnation, because stagnation leads to that. So if you keep on being like, fuck, I'm a little bit here, a little bit there, and there's no clarity to do what you need to do, or drop into how to, dissolve into your essence, or whether it's dancing or whatever you need to do to find that polarity, then
Fishing.
yeah, that's right. It's like boom, you're fishing and then you're out there, and yeah, catching, yeah. So
Fucking
that's
dancing.
why
I'm not the dancer.
well, me either, mate. I say to people, if they've come to me, they've done Tai Chi, they come to the class, and or they go, oh, whatever it is. And in our Tai Chi, it's maintained its authenticity. So it hasn't been reduced just for health. It hasn't been reduced because the government changed. It hasn't been reduced because it's a very strong lineage all the way down. So we have Shen integrated in with the yin. So you have all these details you have to think about, because the mind is this part of the spirit and the body is the yin. So yin yang have to be in harmony. That's what this symbol of Tai Chi is, right? And so I say to people like, look, if you're not following your Shen, which the spirit leads the mind, mind leads the energy, energy leads the form. If you're not following that in your practice, you're better off doing dancing for movement. You know what I mean? Or you're better off
Yeah.
going doing gym, or you're
Yep.
better off doing something. But if you want to unify these two, you have to walk that path. And so yeah, but I do like to there is a part of me that does like to get on the dance floor, and it's very rare these days. So to be honest, yeah.
Yeah, nah, dancing for me. Chi and her friends and all that. Or some of my friends have put a chat. They go, "We're going to do dancing. Who would like to do it?" And I'm like, "I'm a big no."
I think the last time well, I don't know if this is last time I danced in public from memory was probably your wedding, mate. So yeah.
Oh, you don't want to know about the last time I danced.
That's-
Anyway, but I don't want to go on that tangent today. I know we're all about finding our edge here, and some people have been listening to this and going, I've talked about marketing and social media, and you're giving so much more depth and perspective to this that I think a lot of the listeners of you have been like, wow, that's actually, instead of looking for the next quick fix and like, what's the next trend to do outwardly on the outside, what you're talking about is the true foundational work, you could say, from then how you show up externally. It doesn't matter if it's in marketing or in business. It's like, this is the foundational stuff that we touched on in the first podcast. Very, very important. And again, when I was thinking about it, I do a teach piece really simply around the fruit bowl, and it's called the fruit salad. And it's like you're talking about systems and agreements. You might use the word agreements, discipline, these sorts of things. I call it the rules of the game. And business is like the rules of the game. And the fruit in the fruit bowl, it becomes a fruit salad if you don't have the systems in place. If you are in that, what did you call it? I forgot what you were calling it. What was it?
give
Help
me,
me out here.
yeah, what was it? What was it?
We were talking about when you're in the place.
Double weighting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. When you were in that, it's like without the systems, the agreements, the rules of the game, the structure or the context, the fruit, which is all the different pieces of the puzzle in business, there's like different marketing, different aspects you got to do, different humans involved, different skill sets. They're all the different types of fruit. But without that context, without the discipline, without the rules and the agreements and the boundaries and all that, becomes a fruit salad, and it's messy.
Yeah.
It stays double weighted. And I see this a lot, and I do that as a mind teach piece, a really simple one, because a lot of my clients have got their own businesses. And then when I can teach them that in the context of their business, and it's like, oh, wow, that's where the holes and the gaps are. That's why that's why people don't understand when I give instructions. That's why we're not getting our bottom line's not moving, even though I'm doing things differently. It's because these things aren't in place. And when they bring that in, and they see result in that, what I see from men anyway, then they can look at it in their own personal life and go there and go, oh, okay, now I can see why. Yeah, well, my wife's a banana and I'm the apples, and we are different, but we can see why things can sometimes get messy. So I just wanted to drop that in, because when you were talking about that fruit salad, it's like it's in that place there, and you need to bring the discipline in. You need to. We touched on in the first episode as well, of like letting go of the outcome, like to be able to do that. But you also need to define an outcome in business. There are targets, there are numbers that need to be measured. But if you don't give your mind that, what I find anyway, and give it the context, the agreements, the rules of the game, and that, you always end up with a fruit salad. And then you not only do you not get the result, what I see from so many people in business, especially, what are the figures? Like 95% of businesses fail in the first year. I, I, I I don't know what the figures are like in the coaching, or I don't even know if we call it what would we call the space? Like, I'm in the coaching space, but I also do consulting. This space that we're in, the
Yeah.
changing people's lives, the transformation,
Transformational. Yeah.
yeah, embodiment and all that. The numbers would probably be maybe not as, they'd be worse, I would say, of businesses lasting after a year. Because I know most coaches, like the top 1% of coaches, most people, that's a pipe dream. But it's
Yeah.
like, because of what we're talking about here, I see it anyway. It's like they have the big vision or the big goals, and they have the big heart, but they don't have the context. They don't
Right.
have the discipline. They don't have, or they're not willing to work on it. They don't work on the fundamentals and the foundational piece. It's all the external first. I'll get the strategy. It's like one component of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And they'll go strategy, 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 strategy. Without the foundation, still end up with a fruit salad.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, definitely, man. I think the context is so important, because it's like, if the mind leads our energy, and we don't have as I say, context is king, the perspective awareness as to where we're at and what we're doing, then it's yeah, it would be very hard to, especially if you're an embodied person, you're working with energy. And I see it all the time. There's a lot of people out there that are doing really, really well, even making millions, I know they're in deep fear and survival and freaking out, and it's all the codes and all the love lies on top of it, like just to cover up you know what I mean? Like, and to soften and sink. So, but yeah, I think that's that's amazing. And if our frequency is off, like if we're not able to, coming back to the inner mastery piece, if we're not, and the double weighting part, if we're feeling stagnant, or we can't discipline or split those two parts, but then also soften them, because the law of yin yang, it doesn't quickly go from one to the other. It feels like that if we're out of sync with the
Yep.
ancient pulse of life. But change is, yin goes all the way over, reaches its yang, slowly starts to emerge. It releases the weight that it had on that side, so no longer it's double weighted. And then the pendulum starts to swing this side. So then this side starts to slowly dissolve, and then eventually it becomes empty, and this side becomes full. So splitting that discipline up, and then learning our frequency, and our frequency comes from the stabilization of the essence. And so then the more you know your essence, the more you can become your frequency. And so then, like I said, I'm actually not worried about the targets or the numbers as a primary at all. I'm just nurturing the frequency and stabilizing that. And I think the difference between the older version of me and the newer version of me today is that millionaires nurture stabilized frequency. And I think those that are on the way up, they're in survival, and they're just like just I can't even think of it now, but there's this force and this pressure and this kind of like I don't know, intensity behind everything that doesn't allow them to release into the stabilizing frequency because of the immediate outcome that I could get if I took a faster approach now to get what something versus like slowing down and building something great, and so yeah, but for me, things could crumble, things could change at any given moment, but I know my frequency never will. I know
Yeah.
the core of my essence never will. I know if I'm working on it, I've got more surplus and reservoirs there. So even if it does change, I'll pivot within that frequency. So then if I'm building around that, it means that it's more long lasting. But if I'm building from just up and push and that intensity and just trying to capture what I can, I'm building up, but I'm not building down the foundation. Do you know what I mean? So that's why every morning I drop into that frequency and I just feel into the deep roots that I'm building, and I just work on slowing it down. But I'm not a slow personality. I was like a fast player bartender that's always pushing the edges. My Tai Chi and my practices and the embodied I Ching has taught me to do that. And I regularly practice that because I've got simple practices that return me to that state. And I've gotten very good at stabilizing that for myself and also others, that then, because like divine work is about revelation. Revelation doesn't occur if there's no stability or purification. If it does happen, it's often hard to integrate that divine vision because the personality is blocked up, it's double weighted, it's got all of its shit going on. So
Yeah.
like now you've got divine revelation and you've got this poor animal body. Well, not even the poor animal body. It probably hasn't been loved, nurtured, or connected to, or any of those things, hasn't been balanced out. But that personality is like just like in dissonance completely with the part of us that is in the animal body. And this is also like this gets quite deep because in meditation we often, or in Tai Chi, we often sink the chest, right? And what do most men try to do? They try to push their chest out, right? But then the lungs, which is the metal element, which governs our integrity, courage, sincerity, authenticity, and metal element is like the sword. It's like the ability to hold the sword. If we have no integrity, we can't hold the sword. That's even the story of like pulling a sword from the stone. Like if you've got the integrity, you can pull it out, right? Or you can hold the sword because of the integrity. You can wield it because you know that it's fucking dangerous as well, but you can wield it with that connection. So, but if we're trying to push out our in survival, then the lungs that sit behind the heart, it compresses the external breath, not even the true breath. So, but the lungs is what we call the posol. It's linked to the animal body. So then all of a sudden our animal body is stressing the fuck out. It puts pressure on the heart. Our energy goes straight up into the head. We become these over intellectual, only logical beings based on survival. And then it's like, I can't trust fucking frequency. I got no time for frequency. Don't give me that shit. I got to pay my bills. And, and like people aren't even in the frequency to drop in. So they need to soften over time in order to listen to their frequency, to learn to get off that survival path. And so that's why the work that I do specifically is more gentle, because that's exactly what they need. But anyway, that's the that's the alchemical view. And so then eventually they can soften into their central energy center, which is located just below the navel, which is the core area from an alchemical perspective where the Jing, Qi, and Shen stabilizes in our central energy system. So this is why I'm big on working in rather than working out. I'm not against working out, but anything that obstructs my lower dantian, the central energy system, throws off my frequency. So if I do stuff that's pushing that part of my animal body because I need to prove that I'm man enough or whatever it is, you know what I mean?
Mm.
And if that's impacting my frequency, then guess what? I'm building by survival. Then I'm just echoing the industrial war machine. War is okay, it's necessary, because I'm a fucking frayed boy that can't soften into who I am and become like a real king or even go beyond those levels. I'm not trying to say that I'm a king or anything, because I like to be
Own it. Own it.
humble enough to. Steve's always calling me on my humility pieces, so I'll take. Anyway, that's right.
Yeah, what was going through for me, it's like the analogy of like a tree's not gonna, you look at a big tree, big branches, it's grown for hundreds of years. So its roots aren't going to be just surface level and short. They're going to be buried deep, deep into the ground. It's going to be able to withstand the wind. It's going to withstand all the pressure and all the change and everything. That's the foundational piece. It was part of the way you were talking through that. And it's like so much is built. And I can talk from my own experience, everything I built I can see how many I've created courses like that. I'm inspired, I'll create a course, but it comes and goes. There's no foundation to all of it. It's not a long lasting thing. And that's what I really tuned in. If we go back to what I was sharing about my journey and like over the last few years, it's like what I've been building over the last few years. It's required a lot of patience. It's required no external validation. And it's like trust deep within that it's coming from this truer place because what I'm building is to last, not something that's like quick. I can get it out. I can help people right now. I've got something that can like, yeah, awesome. No attachment to that. And what that's meant for me in a business sense, again, it's like sometimes it's like, well, I'd really like something coming in now, money, clients, whatever. But it's like the true part of me is like, this is part of you need to grow through right now. It's okay. Instead of going into that survival, quick, 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 just build out or rush, 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 or throw money at this or throw more people at this to get it going. It's like, I just have to, it's okay. I just have to endure and trust through this time. And that's what it's been for me and let things happen organically. Again, I see it in the space a lot too, is a lot of people want to go build, 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 build really fast. But then as soon as a big challenge comes along, tree falls over. And what happens next? They build again or they give up.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot coming through there. And I'd love to talk about this more. I didn't know this would be a great tangent to go on. I just trusted my gut or in here, but I've like we've got to wrap it up in a couple of minutes.
Oh, well, I
So
got a question for you, man. If
awesome. Absolutely. Ask me questions.
yeah,
But
because like I've seen you flick the switch to another level. I'm guessing it's been the last 60 days or so, maybe even 90 days. I'm not sure what it is, but there's been you've flicked the switch and there's been a consistency and content that's coming out, and also and I can feel it. It's coming from your center and that still place. So there's obviously some structure and there's some systems there, but also I can feel that you're less reactive in the messaging piece because you're on purpose. You know what I mean? And you're clear about that. So
yep.
I'd love to know what flicked the switch, and also what are some of the systems and structure, like literally pure tactical pieces that you're integrating around sharing your content for anyone else that's out there that's wanting to get a bit more clarity with that. And what are some of the core practices that you feel like you're doing, meditation or mindset or whatever it is that you feel like stabilizing you in that center? Because as we know, it is its own beast.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a loaded question, by the way. There's an hour in my response, but I appreciate it and I like it. It's very relevant. What flicked the switch? I think you sort of hit it with my messaging not being reactive because it has been a bit in the past. And I think that's what I touched on before about the social media thing, like starting to not being consciously aware of when was I taking action from, or am I making this because of the reaction that's outside of what was true to me? And that's been a lot of my past, basing it on the likes or basing it on the comments, basing on results. That's where I get the data and feedback. But the big thing that flicked the switch with me was actually owning, like, well, this is from all my messaging coming from a places like owning the fact that I'm fucking good at what I do. That was a big thing, and really owning the fact that, like, the integrated warrior piece. My good mate Aaron Baldock, he called me forward into this. He goes, "I think there's a piece in this for you." And it's like, you need to own, if you want to like help these men that you're so clear on and you are great at it and all this, he goes, but you need to own that integrated warrior piece. And I was like, oh, there was something in that. And in my exploration of that, and I'm shortcutting this, my ownership of that part, something really landed for me. And it's like, yeah, fuck. Big part of that for me is like, fuck, I have had a life where I've experienced a lot. I've been through a lot. I've needed to be resilient. I've had a lot of failures. I've got a lot of battle wounds. I've got a lot of scars. But at the same time, I've also been extremely disciplined. I've had a lot of success. And I really needed to own these parts. And just as an extension of that, the things that came from that, the action, just became true, more authentic, because I was like coming from my authentic self. And again, I think there's been levels for me. There's like definitely the way I show up. There's been days where I second guess myself and all that, but from that's been the switch. What's added, what's poured petrol on that, or having more disciplined or more determined from this truer place is like finding out we've got another child on the way. Of course, there's an element there, but it's coming from it's like it's not that survival place. Like oh fuck, like it would have been from when we were having River, because it was like becoming a dad. There's no book for that stuff. There's plenty of books out there, but it's unique and different for everyone. It's like a relationship. They're all different. You can
Yeah.
get the structures, and you can get the whatever around it, but it's like you got to experience certain things to do that. And I feel like something's been lit in me just to really own like what I'm good at, what I'm really good at. Own like this journey I've been on. It's like the hero's journey. It's like coming back and like going, oh, actually, shit, stop denying the call and fucking own it. And so that's been a thing. From a strategy point of view, I've known for a while that something's needed to shift in my marketing. I didn't know what it was, because certain things, whether it's the onset of AI, I think it's more of what I just spoke about, by the way. And this is a real message for people to understand out there, what we've been chatting about today. That's the piece that I feel is going to create more, give you the results or more aligned results you want in anything external. But the strategy piece, like I was searching for a while because organically things stopped. I stopped getting people commenting and liking, even though my content was better, even though I felt it was truer. My message was truer. That switch, that was flicked 12 months ago. Got flicked again. But the strategy that changed things recently was a guy in the US, Ryan Stewman, hardcore closer. I've followed him for years. 2015, I opened my messages. I had my first messages with him in 2015. Never did anything with it. But he was talking about his piece, how he was doing a certain thing for 3 years and couldn't bust through his upper limits. And because he had this perception of like, well, he only needed to show up once a day on social media. Now that worked 3 years ago. That was the piece, show up once a day. And then he's like, well, he was talking to the CEO of Instagram and he's like, you're doing it wrong. He goes, we've changed this algorithms. We've changed this. Now, I'm not huge on algorithms and stuff. Again, I'm about the coming from authenticity, being real. But what he learned, and he's shared this with his group Apex, and he shared one of the videos outside, and it made sense to me. He goes, well, right now they're rewarding content creators. And here I have been in this creative mode. I've been really finding this creativity, and it feels true, and creating from what feels really true to me. And it's like, all right, they're rewarding creators, and it's not rewarding them with money and incentives. Like, no, post your genius, post more about what you're doing. Like, we will reward you by putting you out there. And I'm like, okay, cool. That's a lot of work. And oh my God, the same thing. So I go back to when I started 10 years ago, post 5 times a day, very different now. But I'm like, what if I was consistent in just sharing and creating? Because I love creating. And I just put out my creativity, and it's 3 to 5 times a day. And I've watched my reach go up by 600-700% in 3-4 weeks, just by being this creative flow and being okay to post it. And again, I think you mentioned earlier, just add value. Like, I'm probably doing more call to actions on my stuff now than ever, but you wouldn't know, because I'm posting a lot more creative value than ever. And what I'm seeing, metrics are important for some part of what I'm doing now, because I've got a goal of doing this for 2 months. And when the switch was flicked, or that aha I had around this, I'm like, holy crap, this is not getting put out. They're not pushing this out to the same 200, 300, 500 people every time. They are, if your reel or your post goes to 500 people or 1,000 people, the next one you do, if you're consistent with this, they're looking for 1,000 new people based on the 1,000 you just did. So when I heard that, I'm like, something shifted in me, because my perception was, I'm the same people are saying the same stuff. Why would I post similar stuff again and again and again and again? Where in essence, it's not. It's going to different people all the time. And by default, a positive side effect of this, I've got sharper on my message. It's helping me get clearer in my communication. Like, I've let go of perfectionism. I'm like, it's more aligned and authentic because it's just real in the moment. What's inspired for me right now? Yeah, there's an element of force that comes in, but it's an edge now. It's not from, oh shit, if I don't get this out here, I'm not going to get the result. It's like, actually, my mind knows that there's something in this because I'm sticking with strategy. My goal is to do this for 2 months. The results I'm getting from marketing, reaching more people is epic. But again, what it's helped me with, it's helped me stay authentic. It's helped me stay in my own lane. It's helped me stay true to myself because there's plenty of distractions out there because all I'm focused on is adding value to the marketplace and I'm just trusting more. I'm not leaving myself waiting and hoping, oh, I hope that post hit the mark or I hope that one did it. I'm like, fuck it, just keep going. And it's kept me in alignment. It's kept me in that flow of the yin and the yang.
I'd almost say like when it's a survival response, and I've been there too, and it still happens occasionally. We like to check how that post went, right? But then if we're waiting, if we're stuck in that, that's when we're double weighted, we're stagnant because we're not releasing from the thing, right? And going and doing something different. But yeah, man, that's been awesome. And I know you got to go. But just because I spoke about frequency, I'll just sort of close like with this. A key question that I ask myself in the morning is like, am I dropped into my essence or my frequency, or is this performance? And so that like creates this distinction of like, am I trying to do something for what, you know what I mean? The latest little peak of dopamine hit that I can get. I don't want that. I'm like, am I in my essence? And am I in my frequency? I know how to feel that in my body, of my practices and that. That's where I get into the state or into that field every sort of day.
Well, that was the other part of your question. You asked me, what do I do with that? And I forgot about that because I was so caught up in this exciting strategy I'm getting and all the numbers I'm getting and all the growth. But
yeah, it's all good.
That's a great point is before all of that, and I love the performance piece. I think I wrote a bit of content about this recently because I had a little bit of a shift around this. Like, I'm all about high performance. I work with high performance people, but that's still having that attachment to, am I coming from that to perform? It's like this external thing. So my practices is all about my question I ask myself, like, how am I feeling in my body right now? And usually that's like a bridge because a lot of the time I'll get up in the morning, I'm like, all right, what's going on for the day and what I've got to do and all this sort of thing. But what's really supported me in this is like coming into the body, and there's many ways to do this, but I always how am I feeling in my body? Some mornings I don't want to get the answer I get because it's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, we've got to do this and we've got to do that. But other mornings is like, yeah, I'm feeling like grounded and clear. Or other mornings is like, yeah, I'm feeling like shutting down today. I don't want to do anything. And honoring that in any practice I do, any parts to my practice. Because again, I've got components to it. I love to stretch my body. Like I do yin yoga a lot these days, like a lot. I'm like really staying in my body. That's another conversation. Has changed how I function so much. I think that's out of the work we did too. I really drifted into that, or I didn't drift. I like just slower in the body. That's really supported me. Again, I love my breath work, but again, it's just a tool. Some mornings it's like get the fire going, get that rising energy going and outward. Other mornings it's like you need to just breathe this in and come back into the body with that. So again, I'm a non-negotiable morning practices and non-negotiable. Doesn't matter what I'm doing, where I'm at. They are because of that. When I come from that place, even if there's no defined outcome from the practice, like I've dropped that too. I'm like, oh, I want to feel good after this, or I want to feel alive or inspired. No, it's just like, I'm just going to do this because that's what I do. It's my discipline. And that I know gives me the foundation to be able to navigate the day the best I can from where I'm at. Doesn't matter what I'm doing. And again, it's like, if there's a message I can give from all of that, it doesn't matter what you guys are doing in the world or whatever. Have something, practices without the attachment to getting anywhere with them. That's going to happen organically. You're going to master things without wanting to master them. That's what I've discovered, I think, especially in the last couple of years. But yeah, that's a fundamental piece of just not even business, just life for me.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for sharing, man, as well. Yeah, it's nice. I know you got to rock and roll, so
it's all good, man. There's so much, and this is what I love about our chats. And it's been a while, but I think we've both grown so much. And I've seen it from yourself, especially like the topic of conversation today and like what you're offering the world. You really got it out there because you've always had a lot of gifts to share, and you've done the work, even though the work's ongoing. And that's what I see from you. But I've seen the evidence more so in the last year or two, yourself and Crystal, what you've been able to create. It is long lasting, it is massive, it is hugely impactful for the world. But I've really seen you grow that more and more. And I know businesses are part of that to get it out there. So I just wanted to, yeah, recognize that in you too, mate. It's definitely a not only a privilege to chat to you and have you as a good mate, but to have you on to add massive value you do and give perspective and depth to conversation that not many others that I have combos with can do.
Oh, thanks, man. I'm looking for part of, my personality or essence is like I'm excited to see how I feel like this is attuning me to the frequency of this even more deeper. Just that conversation is like it refines the core essence. There's so much other pieces to share per se, right? But just letting that release into the field and feeling into the attunement of what has just taken place is a big part of what I think just what makes the journey ecstatic and exciting, because we're not trying to grasp, we're just truly being, and and then letting that creative fire come alive from there. I think you're touching on those practices is key. We do a 4 week initiation into the frequency work as our core offer, but at the very beginning. And so if people are interested in the way that I tap into that frequency, that's there. It's a free offer at the moment. It's a 4 week training, very high value. We give a lot of our core practices to connect to the 8 elements and the 8 main energy centers as well, because that is pivotal for me, just being connected and alive and purifying the body to drop in and but also feel the authenticity of like who I am underneath the surface, getting things done, but also connecting those different parts of ourselves so I don't feel like I'm in dissonance and disconnected. It's easier for me to drop into frequency and not be reactive. I can truly be in resonance. And so I think that's the main message. So it's been nice to hear your flow with that too, man. So yeah. So it's where do we go? I feel like there's more pieces to even
There is, but we can tune back in and we can record some combos in at a future date for sure. Because again, you add massive value, and I really do appreciate you jumping on for these 2-part series. Again, all your links and everything will be below. I really encourage everyone to check out what Rhyn is doing in the world. It is fantastic. It is super potent work, and it is transformational. I've experienced it myself, and I can't speak highly enough of yourself. So thank you so much for joining us, Rhyn. Thank you everyone on here for tuning in. Keep an eye out. Podcast is firing again, everyone. There's going to be consistent episodes coming out. But this has been a cracker of way to relaunch it out there. Thank you so much, Rhyn, and thank you everyone for tuning in.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, team.